Whew, holy bananas, there's a lot of energy in here. Last time I was here, I think, was in March, just before Easter, and I'd had an honor of spending a number of months with you, once a month, and a lot has changed since I was here last. Yeah, in a good way, too. Congratulations. You have a wonderful new spiritual leader who I was very pleased and honored. Mark and I go way back to actually make a recommendation to your board regarding Mark. I think he's a champion of new thought and a great messenger, and he'll bring new and wonderful growth and energy to this church that you haven't yet to see. So it's wonderful. And also, something else is new since last I was here, and that is my latest book, The Art of Abundance, 10 Rules for a Prosperous Life, was released in August. And I'm here this morning to talk to you about it. This afternoon in the workshop, we're actually going to talk about the 10 rules that the book contains. But this morning I want to talk about the essence of the book. And a lot of people ask me, why did you write a book about prosperity? And here's the truth. Shortly after my book, Your Redefining Moments, Becoming Who You Were Born to Be, was released in about 4 years, a little over 4 years ago, my publisher, within a month, called me and he said, okay, what's next? And I said, I just need a break. I don't know. He said, well, here's an idea. You're a prosperous guy. Why don't you write a book about prosperity? And the very first words out of my mouth was, the world doesn't need another book about prosperity. and he said, well, think about it. And so I sat on it for the better part of a year, thinking, praying on it, saying, what can I bring to the world with a new book about prosperity? And the message I got was, well, it's not a book about prosperity. It's a book about the undergirding principle of abundance. We don't need another book about prosperity, how to demonstrate the perfect home or the perfect mate, or even to heal your lower back and your relationships. What we need is a book that will help us define a new perspective of what it takes to create a life worth living. And that goes far beyond the concept of prosperity. Would you agree with that? Yes. Prosperity is great. I'm not here to diss at all prosperity. But prosperity is about stuff, right? And I'm not knocking stuff. I love stuff. I love stuff. And I got a lot of great stuff in my life, but it doesn't have me. Okay. And so when I sat down to write this book, I got very clear that I needed stepping stones to lead myself and those who would read this book to a deeper understanding of this isn't a book about how to demonstrate stuff. This is a book about how to demonstrate a life worth living. A life that is rich. And Janine, your prayer, you just gave my talk. Thanks a lot. Your meditation was wonderful. It was wonderful. But my point is this, that the book isn't about how to manifest stuff. It's actually how to actualize the principle of abundance. And it encompasses far more than what the money in your wallet, or the kind of car you drive, or the house that you live in, the location of it. All those things are wonderful. And yet, when I began to think about my journey into understanding the message of what prosperity was and wasn't, even before I discovered New Thought in 1977, I had a great job. I demonstrated prosperity at a really significant level. I had a lot of the earmarks that would define a prosperous life. I had the house on the hill, the sports car, and every 2 years, and I had a wonderful life full of wonderful accoutrements. And yet, when I discovered New Thought in 1977, I discovered how poor I was. I discovered what was missing for me, and that is the difference between prosperity and living an abundant life, a prosperous life, which incorporates the awareness of a source of all good in every area of your life. And she so beautifully mentioned it in her prayer this morning. An abundance of good health, an abundance of healthy relationships, an abundance of reverence on the planet. Isn't that something we could all use an abundance more of today, is reverence? Yeah. You think so? Yes. Okay. So what I know is this, that all of the accoutrements in life can add great value to your life, but they don't necessarily add meaning. Do you get the difference? Meaning comes when you connect with life at a level that goes far beyond the things in our lives that make life more pleasant. Okay? When we manifest a consciousness of abundance, it becomes a richness of life that spills over to every area of our life. And I guess the difference between prosperity and a prosperous life is this, that prosperity is about a focus on manifesting all the material aspects of life, which are all good. But a prosperous life is about accessing a state of wholeness that can only come when you live within the awareness of your oneness with your source of all good. God is, I am. Would you all agree with me? I have a hunch you would, that God is the source, that life, the universe is the source of all the good that can come to us? Okay, so but I guess the point is, how deeply do we live in an awareness of that truth? Because contained within the awareness of the self, and I'm talking about capital S, the self, is contained everything that you can possibly conceive of that would make your life worth living, that would create a life that is rich in every way, shape, and form, that goes far beyond the surface demonstrations of prosperity. The problem is that for millennia, and tell me if you wouldn't agree with this, the world has looked to outside of itself for fulfillment. And when we look outside of ourselves for fulfillment, we automatically enter into a vortex of not enough. Because there will always be something missing, something more. My friend, you all know, I'm sure you all remember who Dr. Michael Beckwith is. Michael wrote, he's a good friend of mine, he wrote a nice endorsement for the book, but I'm going to also quote him what he says, which I think is significant. He talks about the fact that there is a virus that the collective consciousness is infected with. And this is what he says: there is a lie that acts like a virus within the mind of humanity. And that lie is there's not enough good to go around. There's lack and there's limitation and there's just not enough. The truth is there's more than enough good to go around. There's more than enough creative ideas. There's more than enough power. There's more than enough love. There's more than enough joy. All of this begins to come through a mind that is aware of its own infinite nature. What is your infinite nature? Say this with me. God is. I am. That's it. Take a deep breath. If you can get that, I can go home. But I've got more to say, so sit tight. He says there is enough for everyone. If you believe it, if you can see it, if you act from it, it will show up. And that's the truth. There is enough for everyone. And so, what would he do me a favor, close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing it, and I'm going to take you in a 30-second guided visualization. Ask yourself this question as you go within. What would my life look like today? And remember, we're talking far more than just material manifestation. What would my life look like today if the day I was born, I was taught by example that there was more than enough of whatever would give purpose and meaning to my life, that would help me create a life of satisfaction and joy and freedom? How would my life look different today if I had been taught that message the day I was born? I'll sit with that just for a minute. Another way to look at it would be, how would my life look different today if I was aware that I had been born into a sea of infinite potential and possibilities? Just like a fish is born into the ocean, one with it. No limits. How would my life look different today if I had been taught that? Now, you can open your eyes. Now take a deep breath, and here's the question that I would propose to you. When I ask that question, and you have to be honest with yourself, okay? Doesn't matter what you tell me. It does matter what you tell yourself. When I ask that question, what would your life look like today? And describe the possibilities of infinite good. Did that question rise to your head in a pessimistic way where there was automatically a discounting and say, yeah, right, no. Never going to happen, not for me at least. There's those who have and those who don't, and I'm in that field of those who don't. And again, we're talking about more than just material stuff, okay? Or did that, when I asked that question, did it descend deeply into the core of your being, to your heart, and settle in there where you found an affirmation that said, yes, this is the truth of my being. I was born into more than enough. And if we haven't actualized it yet, that's okay. You're in the right place to begin that journey, yeah? Yes. And you were the right teachers, too. And so I guess here it is. Boy, the world doesn't have a prosperity problem or an abundance problem. There's more than enough. We live in an infinite universe expanding at the speed of light, creating from within itself more of itself. Wow. You know what the world has? Is a consciousness problem. A consciousness problem. Now, what is consciousness? The consciousness is the sum total of everything you've ever believed to be the truth about yourself from the day you were born until this moment in time. And it has created the form into which the universe has poured itself called your life. And so this class this afternoon is going to be delving into the 10 rules or practices to explore where those blocks in consciousness may be that will set us free to experience a greater, more rich, fully expressed life. At the end of the day, what you're not pursuing, people go to prosperity classes and all that, they think that what they want to do when they get the right stuff, the right car, the right this or that, then they'll be at peace. But the reality is that's not what they're really pursuing is the feeling that freedom brings when they know that there's enough in their life. Freedom. Two hands. Okay, good. You get it. So the question that we have to come back around to is, and it comes back to consciousness, what does more than enough look like to you? Where in your life is there a void? It could be material money. It could be a place to live. It could be a lot of the things in the material level. But there also could be other aspects of your life that you don't normally think of as a place where the source of all life can bring to you more of it. You with me? So the answer can be, here's the reality. The answer to that question, what does a life worth living look like to you, can be different for every one of us in this room. For some of us, it may be a material demonstration. For some others of us, it may be richer, fuller, joyful relationships that are healthy. It may be a career that is thriving. It may be something, whatever appears to be missing, it may be something that is of a material level aspect or something that is of a emotional or intrinsic value. But here's the point that I want to make. Irrespective of where that question takes you, the principle that converts essence, energy, into form, experience, is exactly the same. One principle. One God, one mind, one power, one universe, one source, operating in me and through me at the level of my consciousness creates my reality, my experience in life. Take a nice deep breath. It's very quiet in here. So I think probably the challenge that a lot of us have had over the years is that we've confused the concept of prosperity with abundance. And they've become commingled, and they're really two different aspects of the same thing. I'm going to quote myself. I love to quote myself once in a while. Yeah. First, I'm going to quote Ralph Waldo Emerson in the book. He says, "We see the universe as solid fact. God sees it as liquid law." You get that? Everything is liquid law before it turns into solid fact. Abundance is defined as an extremely plentiful or oversufficient quantity or supply, an overflowing fullness. And note, in this definition, that's right out of the dictionary, does not specify form, only a degree that implies more than enough. This is because abundance is a principle that goes far beyond form. It is a universal principle of more than enough of whatever one can conceive of. Abundance is absolute potential available to whoever can actualize it by transforming pure potential into solid reality. How do you do that? Not by wishing, not by hoping, not by envying or being jealous or coveting, but by shifting our consciousness to move us closer to the awareness that we're one with the source of our good. It's that simple, and it's that difficult. Because we've been swimming in a collective consciousness since the day we were born that denies that. Prosperity, again, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Everything in our world, even a drop of dew, is a microcosm of the macrocosm. What does that tell you? That there is that within you that is the same principle that the entire universe is based upon. Yeah? Prosperity is a successful, flourishing, or thriving condition. In other words, prosperity is a condition, not a principle. It is the effect or manifestation of abundance materializing in specific form or condition and degree. Simply put, abundance is the causative principle of more than enough, and prosperity is the exquisite effect. And here's the question. The question is, which one do you tend to focus more fully on, the cause or the effect? You see, a lot of us on this planet are staring at the effect. And for many of us, it's not enough. Something's missing. There's lack. Again, we're going far beyond material stuff, okay? And what do we tell the universe when we stare at what's missing? This is Q&A time. What do we tell the universe when we stare at what's missing? If we're staring at not enough, the universe only knows one word. We all know what it is, right? Yes. And so when we're pursuing that not enough, what can the alternatives the universe have to give us other than to create more not enough? I know it sounds like a vicious catch-22. And this is where having a shift in consciousness based in faith in something bigger than yourself, larger than yourself, comes in. I know, it's, So to pursue prosperity without first integrating the principle of abundance is to tell the universe you believe in scarcity. So we have to lift our focus off of pursuing prosperity and focus more on the principle of abundance, which is based in oneness with our source. And so living in abundance is really an all-inclusive term for having more than enough of whatever you can. What are some of the things that go beyond, even beyond the material level, that you could possibly conceive of seeing more of in your life? Yell them out. Health, happiness, purpose, love, joy, peace of mind. Oh, so those are all intrinsic values and qualities, aren't they? There's a lot of core values there. And if we were to begin to focus on bringing those elements forward, do you not think the universe would support us in manifesting it in our lives? Shake your head like this. Yes, it would. But we have a role to play. Oh, man. I know, I sound like a one-note samba. So, and here's the thing, that you write this down on the inside of your eyelids. You don't have to earn abundance. It came with the gift of your life. It's a process of realization that the gift has already been given to you. And it's right in front of our eyes, and we don't see it because we're looking at the effect, not the cause. That's what this book is about, and that's what our workshop this afternoon is going to be about as well. You know, we tend to overcomplicate the entire process of what it takes to shape a life worth living. You know why? You all know Einstein's theorem, right? E equals mc squared. right? You know what that means. Energy, first, transmuting itself into form at some level, and then breaking down again and returning back to energy, yeah? And the c in that equation is the speed of light. In other words, transformation, convergence of energy into experience and back into energy is happening faster than we can possibly imagine. The universe is expanding at 186,260 miles per second. How's it doing that? I know I sound like a Baptist minister now, I'm sorry. When I get excited about a concept, I feel the juice. It's creating more of itself from within itself to expand into. You are a microcosm of the macrocosm. Can you own that? Yes. There's a place within you, there's a little mini universe continually expanding, trying to be more of something. And here's the hook. You get to decide what the more of something is or isn't. Consciousness, consciousness, consciousness. So here's another quick little visualization for you. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing it. Imagine you're standing in front of a well. This well is infinitely deep. Deep, 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 deep. And at the bottom of this well is contained anything you can conceive of that makes your life worth living. A life of purpose and meaning and joy and abundance. Now, take your bucket and lower it down into the well, deep, 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 deep down. Let it just fill up with whatever that might look like for you, and then bring your bucket back up to the surface. Now open your eyes. Here's the question. How much good is in your bucket? Duh. The answer is, well, how big is your bucket? Is the bucket that you lowered down the size of a cup? A quart? A 5-gallon barrel? A swimming pool? How big is the bucket you lowered down? See, that's a metaphor. Your bucket is your consciousness. How much good are you willing to embody in consciousness that the universe can pour itself? The universe can only manifest in us and through us by means of our consciousness, our belief system. So don't go try to find another well, because there's only one infinite well of source. Get a bigger bucket. So, and I guess the bottom line is the bucket, as we grow and deepen our sense of our awareness, and this is one of the rules, I'll give you a hint, one of the rules in the 10 rules that are in the book is you have to become accountable for your consciousness. Okay? Too many believe that an abundant life is just out of reach for them, and what did the great teacher say? It is done unto you as you... We have to hold ourselves accountable for what we believe. Can I get a witness? And too many of us are allowing other people, including the television set, to tell us what we believe. Too many are stuck in a belief that abundance is simply out of reach. And it's right before our eyes. It's right before our eyes. Pure energy waiting to be sublimated, changed into form, expression, experience of some form. And it can only happen by means of our beliefs. That's why the great teachers taught, he said, it's done as you believe, not as you hope, not as you wish, not even as you think, but as you believe. Of course, Buddha came along and taught the same thing. Your life is like carts on an ox wheel. It follows behind your beliefs. And here's the I think, and I'm going to close pretty quick with this. If you believe that your life is an outpicturing of your consciousness, can I get a witness for that? Are you willing to be accountable for your consciousness in a manner that holds your own feet to the fire when you see that your life is experiencing an abundance of not enough? Of whatever that looks like for you. Because you have to go back to your belief systems. And we're going to cover this in the class. What is it in my belief system that's creating this more not enough? And here's the hook. We cannot leave it to the world. We certainly can't leave it to our politicians to create more than enough for us. Unless it's more than enough grief, right? I mean, they're dedicated to creating a sense of separation, division. Now, it's not a political talk. Don't worry about that. But it is understanding that we give our power away in so many ways. We can't leave it to our politicians to make our lives abundant, because that ain't going to ever happen. We can't leave it to big business to help us create a life of abundance. Why? Big business is there to convince you that something's missing that you need. How many of you watch TV? Come on. You realize that you're sitting in front of something that was invented to sell you stuff, not to entertain you. The entertainment is the hook, but it's there to convince you that something is missing, and until you have that something in your life, you're not enough. We can't even leave it to the world religions, because they too, I'm talking about the world religions, many of them, not all of them, are the problem. They're helping to create a sense of separation. All politicians, big business, the world religions, they're power brokers. It's about who's got the power and who believes they don't have the power, and being trained to do what those who we believe have the power, so we can get some of it. So, can you imagine a world and how the power of the world would shift? The power base of the world would shift if every human being stood in their own tracks strongly enough to recall their power, to reclaim their power from wherever they've given it away, to reclaim their power. That's what this book is about, is coming back to your source of power, your oneness with something that is infinitely powerful. Oneness of source. That's why I wrote this book. That's why I wrote this book. It's a roadmap. This is a roadmap to guide you back to yourself. Capital S. Okay. I'm going to read you the 10 rules, which we're going to go over in our workshop this afternoon at 1 o'clock in depth. That's what the entire class is about, is exploring these 10 rules. The first rule is pretty obvious. Be one with life. The second rule is be aware you live in an expanding universe. And of course, if you're one with life, that means that which is expanding must be happening through you too, yeah? Number 3 is the one I mentioned. Be accountable for your consciousness. The fourth rule is, this is really important, be focused. The fifth rule is be in the flow. The sixth rule is be passionate. Be excited about your life and what you do with it. The seventh rule is be blessed. The eighth rule is be of service. The ninth rule is be courageous. And the 10th rule is be a catalyst for good on the planet. Can you see how it evolves upward? That's why this book is not dedicated to stuff. While stuff is wonderful and it comes along with the package, it's dedicated to a much higher calling. It's about being who you came here to be on this planet in a way that aligns you with the principle of abundance, the principle of more than enough. I close with a quote by Peter Diamandis. This is actually how I start the book. When I think about creating abundance, it's not about creating a life of luxury for everybody on this planet. It's about creating a life of possibilities. It's about taking that which was scarce and making it abundant. So where in your life does scarcity appear to be dominating your experience? And are you willing to step into a larger idea, to challenge your entire belief system, to make your claim that there is more than enough because you are more than enough? Thank you.